Today is Tuesday. It is Yud Beis Sivan Tovshin Ein Gimel, and we are in Teres Menachem Sefer Mamar Tovshin Yud Aleph Tovshin Yud Beis. In the Mamar of Shabbos Parshas Eikev, Mevorchem Achedesh Elul Tovshin Yud Aleph, Vehaya Eikev Tishme'un, page Kuf Chavav. We're up to Eis Beis. The Rebbe asked two questions on the pasuk Vehaya Eikev Tishme'un, and it'll be as a result of you listening to the mishpatim, to the rules of Hashem, and if you will do that, then Hashem will keep for you the bris, the covenant, the kindness that He swore to the forefathers. So the pasuk enumerates three things: covenant, kindness, and oath. And the Rebbe said, in each of these three seem to be unconditional, or either unconditional or something that comes into place in order to make the situation unconditional. So therefore, why does it say, if you will listen, then Hashem will keep these three things? It seems that there are no conditions. The point of these three things are so that, notwithstanding prevailing conditions, these three things should be in place. Question number 2 was, why does the pasuk choose the word Eikev? Why not the word Im? As it says in the second parsha of Shema, Vehaya Im Shamaya. Why did it say Vehaya Eikev Tishme'un? So Rashi explains that it's because Eikev is a reference to the mitzvahs that the person tramples on with his heel, with his okev. And so if a person will keep even those mitzvahs, the light mitzvahs, then V'shamar L'cha Hashem will keep his part of the bargain as well. If that's the case, ask the Rebbe, then we don't understand why does it say that if you will listen to Eis HaMishpatim Ha'ela, referring to mitzvahs as mishpatim, because in the context of the three types of mitzvahs, Eidos, Chukim, and Mishpatim, testimonial mitzvahs, statutes, and rules or laws, mishpatim are the logical mitzvahs, the mitzvahs that we would have fulfilled even if Hashem would not have commanded us. Those seem to be in that situation. In those mitzvahs, we seem to be less likely to trample on them with our heel. So, what is all the meaning over here? Well, what's the meaning here? That's where we're up to. Ois Beis, chapter 2, page Kuf Chavav. Well, having kol zeh, in order to understand all of this, yesh lahakim tchila, we first need to preface biur Mamar Vehaya, the explanation in the saying of the Zohar, tlas kshorim miskashron do bedo. The Zohar says there are 3 knots that tie one to another. Yisrael ba'iraisa, the Jewish people in the Torah, ba'iraisa b'kuchabrichu, and the Torah in the Holy One, blessed be He, in Hashem. So why 3 knots? It seems only 2, but it's like a circle. So the Yidden are tied to the Torah is tied to Hashem, that's 2 knots, and then Hashem and the Jewish people are tied in turn. So it becomes 3 knots, like a circle. V'chulhu dargin al dargin sasim v'galya, and all of them are levels on levels, concealed and open. Meaning to say, what does that mean? That they're all levels on levels, concealed and open. V'hainu, this means she'iskashrus zu, this connection, this tying together, he rak b'bchinas sasim di Yisrael, is not only in the level of sasim of Yisrael, meaning to say not only in the concealed levels of the Jew, shehem hakechus anayim nefesh, which would mean what? The higher levels of the higher faculties of the soul, elagam b'bchinas hagalish of Yisrael, but also this connection between the Yidden and the Torah is also, and Hashem is also in the revealed levels of the Jew. Shehem hakechus hagluyim, which is a reference to what? To the revealed faculties of the soul. Which soul, which neshama are we talking about? It would seem, obviously, the first and most obvious focus would be on the godly soul, the nefesh elokis. That's the soul that's tied to the Torah and to Hashem. Says the Rebbe V'lei Rak B'Negel Nefesh Elikis, carrying on this line of thought, the explanation in the Zohar that it's in the concealed aspects and also in the revealed aspects. This connection, so it's not only in connection to the godly soul, the Nefesh Elikis. V'lei Rak B'Negel Nefesh Elikis. Not only is this connection concerning the godly soul, El Al Yodo, but through her, through the godly soul, is also the revealed faculties of the animal soul, tie to the Torah, are tied to the Torah and to Hashem. What does this mean? What does it mean being connected to Hashem? So here the Rebbe is focusing on the expression hiskashrus, being tied to something. There are two terms that are used to signify something being connected to another in Chassidus. One is hiskashrus, and one is dveikus. Hiskashrus means tied, being tied. Dveikus means cleaving. So there's a lashon from the Alter Rebbe in Tanya, in Perek Lamed Zayin. There's an expression of the Alter Rebbe in Perek Lamed Zayin, where he talks about the state of the neshama as it finds itself in its body, in the body. He refers to it as golus, that the soul, the neshama down here is in exile. And he explains because the neshama down here cannot, even the greatest tzaddik, when the neshama is in the physical body, will not, and who serves Hashem with fear and with love, and so on, the greatest levels, lo yagia lemailas dveikusei b'Hashem, does not reach the quality of the cleaving, of his cleaving to Hashem, through fear and love, before the neshama descends into this world. So he uses specifically, concerning the neshama, the way it stands above, he uses the term dveikus, cleaving. So it seems that dveikus, cleaving, is a reference to the neshama as it is at a higher level. His kashrus would be, as we say over here in the Zohar, tying is also a reference to the neshama. What the neshama being tied to Hashem. In what state? When the neshama is down here. Why the difference? That's what the Rebbe explains here. What's the idea behind this? The hinei loshein hiskashrus, the expression hiskashrus, being tied, miskashron, as this is from the Zohar. We just said that there are three knots that are tied, three things that are tied one to another. Shayich rak b'shnei dvarim she'nifrodim ze mizeh. The expression hiskashrus, being tied, is relevant only concerning two things that are separate one from another. They're two separate entities, and you tie them together. But if it's one thing, the expression hiskashrus, tying it to something else, makes no sense. Why? Because it's one thing. But that would seem to be obvious. So the Rebbe brings an example of something which there is another expression, as we just said, dveikus does make sense, because if it's really one thing, then dveikus doesn't make any sense either. Cleaving also makes no sense. Cleaving also means that there is something in the two entity in these two things that there is something that sort of separates the two to a certain extent, to a very small extent, but to a certain extent. So the Rebbe explains it. When you're talking about one thing, the expression is kashrus, being tied, is not doesn't make any sense. Ki im loshen dveikus. Over there, you can only use the expression dveikus, cleaving. What are we talking about? Cleaving also seems to denote that there is some difference between these. There is some separate identity to something that cleaves to the other. So the Rebbe explains: light and the luminary. Light is not something separate from the luminary. What is light? Light, or the ray, is the revelation of the essence. In other words, what is the light? It reveals the luminary. So it's not something separate from the luminary. So here we see something that, on the one hand, is part of the essential entity. On the other hand, has some slight separate identity, right? But you can't say, it doesn't make any sense to say that the light is tied to the luminary. Because it's one and the same. Its whole being and existence is what? To reveal. It reveals the luminary. Therefore, in what way, how is the light attached to the luminary? It cleaves to the luminary. Therefore, the expression iskashos being tied to the luminary makes no sense. Kim dveikus. Here you use the term what? Dveikus, cleaving. Shuhu dovuk umiyuchid ba'etzem. It cleaves and is united as one with the essence, with the luminary.
The luminary is the source.
Correct. Like, for example, the sun and its ray. Or in Ruchnis, we're talking about Hashem and the Oyer that emanates from Hashem. Vihine. Now, let's superimpose that onto the soul, onto the neshama. So the Rebbe says that in the neshama, we have two levels. We have the level of the neshama, the soul, as it is above. And then there is the neshama, the soul, as it comes down here. Right? As we say in the Bichas HaShachar every morning, Elikai, neshama shenasata bi tahirahi. The soul that you've given to me, tahirahi, she's pure. Then we go on and we say, Ata verosa, Ata yitzarta, Ata nafachta bi, Ata meshamre bekir bi. You created it, you formed it, you blew it into me, and you keep it within me. These are not just more descriptions of the soul, we're actually talking about different levels of the soul. Tahirahi, the neshama being pure, that's the soul the way it is above, before it comes down. Or sometimes we're talking about the etzem neshama, or chaya yechida, right? The soul, but generally speaking, we're talking about the soul the way it is above, before it comes down. Ata berosa, ata yitzarta, ata nafachta bi. Ata meshabra bekirbi, these are already references to the neshama, to the soul, as it comes down into the body, right? So the Rebbe explains, so you have these two identities in the soul as it is above, and the soul as it comes down. In what state is this soul connected to God and to godliness above, before it comes down into the body? Over there it is in a state of dveikus belakus, it cleaves to godliness. As the accurate choice of language in Tanya, in this chapter that I just mentioned before, chapter Lamed Zayin 37, quote, Shegam tzadik gomor ovid avaya bir v'ava, that also a complete tzadik, who serves Hashem with fear and love, avarabba betanugim, great love, with great pleasure, meaning to see the highest level of love, leyagia lemailas dveikusei b'Hashem, will not reach to the quality, to the level of his cleaving in God, with fear and love, before the neshama descends to this world. So what's the choice of the word, the language the Alter Rebbe uses over here? It will not reach the level of dveikus, cleaving. Why cleaving? Because the neshama, before it comes down, cleaves to God and to godliness. Why? Because it's one and the same. It is a ray. It is part of godliness. That's what the soul is. When do we say the expression iskashus? The Zohar uses tlas kshorin miskashron in reference to the neshama. The Zohar uses the expression tying, the neshama being tied to the Torah and to God. It's only when the soul descends down here and becomes in the level, or in a sense, it becomes mitzius, an entity, identifiable as it were separate entity. Azai shaykh bolosh niskashus, then the expression hiskashus being tied to Torah and to God, then it makes sense. Then you could use the term that the neshama is tied to Torah and tied to God, because once it comes down, it already becomes a separate, identifiable identity, existence. When the soul is at the level of tahirihi, pure, the first level that we mentioned in Bichas HaShachar, in the morning brachas, then she is in a mode of cleaving to godliness. But once the soul comes down to the level of you having created her, you forming her, you blowing her into me, and you keeping her in me, which is a reference to what? To the level, to the soul as it descends. When it becomes in the mode of a yesh, of an identifiable existence, then the connection of the soul with godliness is in a mode of iskashos, of being tied. And it's concerning this, the level of the soul as it comes down into the body, descends from its level the way it is above. It's concerning this level of the soul that the Zohar is referring to when it says 3 knots are tied one to another, using the expression of iskashus, the soul to Torah and Torah to God. So we're talking about, the Zohar is talking about the neshama, the level of the neshama as it comes down here, down lamata, below, into the body. So from all of this it would seem that what is the preferred status of the neshama? When is the neshama at its in its highest state? When the neshama is up above, because over there it's dveikus, it cleaves to godliness, it's one and the same, right? Like the light from the luminary. However, says the Rebbe, ach mikol mokim, nonetheless, yesh maili yisera binyan iskashus lamata, ala dveikus lamayla. Nonetheless, there is an added quality in the dimension of being tied, the soul being tied to godliness, when it is down here, over the cleaving to godliness as the soul is above. Why? Because it's only through the level of being tied to godliness, which means the soul as it is down here in this low realm, specifically through this, we arrive at a higher level than before. What's the pshat? So the Rebbe explains. The concept is as follows. The Hiniksiv, it says in the pasuk, in the verse, in Shir Hashirim, chapter 1, verse 5, Shcheira ani v'nova b'nais Yerushalayim. I am black, and I am pleasant, I am attractive, daughters of Jerusalem. The soul says, I am black and I am attractive. And Rashi explains over there that it talks about, notwithstanding the fact that we are blackened by our misdeeds, nevertheless, we're still attractive because of our obvious and so on. Other interpretations there in this concept of, on the one hand, darkened and beautiful. But the Rebbe explains as follows, Chassidus explains as follows. B'nai Yerushalayim, daughters of Jerusalem. Who are the daughters of Jerusalem? Koi al neshama shalamayla. This is a reference to the neshama, to the soul, as it is above, before it comes down. Shenikrois b'shem b'nai Yerushalayim. Souls above are called daughters of Jerusalem. Why? Because the souls, as they are above, before they descend down here, are in their perfect state, in their complete state of fear of God, of Yira. The Medrash says, that the idea of Yerushalayim is Hashem Yira Sholem. Yerushalayim is a combination of 2 words. Yira Sholem. The complete state of fear. What was it? In Yerushalayim we had the Beis Hamikdash, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the presence of God was there, right? So the idea of Yerushalayim is fear of God. So Yerushalayim is a combination of 2 words, complete fear. The complete state of fear of God. So therefore the neshamas, Lamaila, the neshamas above, souls above are called B'nai Yerushalayim, daughters of Jerusalem. Why? Because the neshama, the way it is above, is in the perfect state of fearing God. And as mentioned before, from chapter 37 in Tanya, שגם צדיק גמור עבד הוויה בעיר ועבד רבי בתרנוגים ליגיע למעלה זה לכוסי בהשם בתחילו ורחימו בתרים בדדוסה ולמזה. As the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya over there, that even a complete tzaddik who serves Hashem in the most perfect way down here will not reach the level of the cleaving of the neshama to God as the neshama is above. Why? Because the neshama above, the soul above, is in a greater state of perfection in its connection to Hashem than what? Than the soul down here. Hainu, this means, sherak bi yosem l'mayla. Only when the soul is above, the soul is in its perfect state of fearing God. The Alter Rebbe specifically refers to what? Serving Hashem with fear, also with love, but he also mentions fear. So where is the neshama in its perfect state of fearing God? Above, before it comes down. It's for this that we are referring to the neshama as, the neshama says, daughters of Jerusalem. Daughters of Jerusalem means the souls as they are above.
If the soul is part of Hashem, how can it change?
Sorry?
How can it change? How can it be good? How can it be different over there?
Through Yerida. Through the Helen of Hester, through the concealment of the body, through the concealment of the Nefesh Abamis. That's what it says in Chassidus. That's why the Alter Rebbe says that the Neshama, when it comes down, is B'Pchinas Golus. It's like an exile. There's something that blocks.
But to actually say that it changes what's related.
It doesn't change. It doesn't. It essentially doesn't change. The change in the neshama is only in the revealed aspects of the neshama. The etzem neshama, the very essence of the neshama, always remains Yisrael Agam Shechoto Yisraelu Gam Be'esa. When a Jew, even when he sins, remains a Jew. Says the Talmud. Chassidus, it says Gam Be'esa Malchus Hoysa Ba'amna Ite, that Esther, when she was even in the king's palace, she remained loyal to Mordechai. And Chassidus explains that this is a reference to the neshama when it comes down into Golus and to L'umas and so on and so forth, right? So the neshama, the etzem, in essence, remains in its committed bond to Hashem as it was before. But in the revealed aspects of the neshama, that's why we say Ata V'ros, Ata Yitzata, and Nefachta, which is neshama, ruach, and nefesh, right? Bri Yitzir Asiyah. In the revealed aspects, that's where that change, as it were, that concealment can take place, and therefore it conceals its relationship with Hashem. That's the challenge. But the word is that through working with those aspects of the neshama, it even causes the very essence of the neshama to reach a higher level than it was before. But let's not preempt what the Rebbe wants to say. Let's focus on what the Rebbe says over here. So bottom line is the neshama, the way it is. When is the neshama to refer to as Bnei Yerushalayim, daughters of Jerusalem? The neshama as it is up above before it comes down. A little in more detail. This term, B'nai Yerushalayim, Koi B'nai Yerushalayim, is a reference to the neshamas, K'fishem B'chinas Malchus de Atzilus. Specifically, the neshamas, the way they are in the level of Malchus of Atzilus, the last of the 10 spheres of Atzilus. What's Malchus de Atzilus? We know is Shechina, as we learned in the Maimon Vaselegani. Shechina is B'chol Mokim K'fi Yanei. Shechina is a reference to Malchus in every level. It's a reference to the Malchus of that realm. So in Atzilus, what's Shechina? Malchus. What's Yerushalayim? The presence of the Shechina is in Yerushalayim. So Yerushalayim above is Malchus, the Atzilus. So when we say B'nai Yerushalayim, the Neshamas, the souls as they are above, the daughters of Jerusalem, we're talking about the souls, the Neshamas, where at the level of Malchus the Atzilus. The souls as they are in Malchus the Atzilus. Why specifically Malchus the Atzilus? Why not higher than Malchus the Atzilus? We're talking about the soul that fears God. But as the way it serves Hashem with fear, up above before it comes down into this physical realm. Higher than Malchus the Atzilus, you can't even say fearing God. You can't say loving God. Why? Higher than Malchus, the soul has no separate identity at all. The soul is so bottled, so nullified to godliness, because the overwhelming presence of Hashem, of the godliness, is so powerful that the soul doesn't have any separate identifiable identity. So you can't say there is someone who loves and there is someone who fears. Not even in the finest sense. When we come to the level of Malchus of Atzilus, which is already the level of what? Of revelation. We're talking about an identity. Yes, it's still in Atzilus, so within the context of the Ne'etzalim rather than the Nevroim. We're talking about emanations rather than creations in Atzilus. However, we're talking about revelation. So we're already talking about the lowest level of Atzilus, the beginning of giving room, as it were, for something else. Over there already, in Malchus Atzilus, we can already say, there is someone that fears, there is someone that loves. So therefore, we're talking in terms of levels. B'nai Yerushalayim is a reference to the souls as they are above, specifically as they are in the level of Malchus de Atzilus. And later on, the Rebbe is going to explain what is the meaning of this saying. What is the Neshama saying when it says, I am black and I'm attractive, daughters of Jerusalem. And that we'll learn in Mitzvah tomorrow.